Guys, my name's Liam, one of the host bros. I do know the islands are just out, so I'm gonna jump straight into it there. I have got my friend Dylan here beside me, but no, I wasn't expecting them to come out that quick, but here we go. Look, this can be a zero ads streams. There's gonna be no interruptions at all. But do you know what, Dylan? We're just gonna dive straight into this because this is gonna be exciting. Guys, feel free to jump into the chat and steer the stream. But Q3 25. So looking at the highlights. TAA aircraft, we did get a press release earlier. We'll go through that. But TAA aircraft begin power on testing, marking the final stage of certification process. They have the first point-to-point flights completed. The autonomous hybrid aircraft for defense applications begins ground testing, and I really want to pick your brain on that because the autonomous sector is really starting to push out, especially with that NVIDIA IGX4. Blade flies 40,000 customers in Q3, and we really want to hear a lot more about Blade and what their product envelope is going to look like going out in there. Are we going to start filtering out the helicopters? We're going to get S4 in there. When are we looking for the switch? But we'll continue with that. The White House does call for early air taxi operations across the US. Now, we do know there was a little bit of pushback in the UAE, but look, we're an American-based company. Let's concentrate on the US, yeah? Propeller manufacturing does begin in Ohio, so we did get a press release on that not that long ago. Adoption of the NVIDIA IGX4 platform to supercharge autonomy capabilities. Now, I can explain it for you guys, but I'm not going to do it right now. Difference between an NVIDIA partnership with Joby Aviation and a Palantir partnership with Archer Aviation. This NVIDIA is actually game-changing. So, Joby finished with 978 million in cash and short-term investments as of Q3 2025, plus an additional 576 million received in October. And we do know about that dilution. So, Dylan, going into it, final stage of certification, they have passed one of the most important milestones in Joby's history to date, with the beginning of the power-on testing of the first several aircraft built for TIA. It's widely understood to mark the final stage of type certification process, and the first testing step is the moment where their intended type design and the manufacturing process and the certification strategy all converge into one physical asset. Dylan, this is massive, my guy. What are your initial thoughts, first of all?
I think the initial thoughts are to smile. Initial thoughts are Joby, industry leader, the first mover advantage, and they're continuing to do that. Like you said, even if there was a pushback in the UAE, it's an American-based company. I think I've said that there's a bit of push and pull in my head and heart between UAE or US being first to be able to adopt or showcase these aircraft on their soil. So it's very interesting also to hear with the government shutdown that the talks of the EIPP and some forward-moving angles within the eVTOL industry continue to push forward. And good job, Joby. This is what we need. We need to get one of these aircraft to the final stage of certification. And it looks like we're going to hear even more about it as they released it through AAK as well today, as they released this press release. So really excited to hear. Really excited to hear what they have on the call today, actually. How about
I'm
you?
actually really excited because Joe Bennett's actually improved leaps and bounds in his presentation going out since we first covered them. Look, guys, it's a year since we first covered these calls, but I'm going to jump straight back into it. The certification strategy is the result of more than a decade working alongside the FAA to develop a certification basis, the means of compliance for their aircraft, certification plans, and test plans. The aircraft was built using Joby's established quality management system, FAA conforming production components, and adheres precisely to the intended type design. Flight testing by Joby pilots is expected to start later this year ahead of the FAA pilots beginning 4-credit flight tests for 2026. The data collected during these tests will be used by the FAA to support the issuing of a type certificate, the approval required to operate the aircraft commercially. Dylan, I said it was going to be one of the biggest calls of the year, and this is going to be it, my guy. So, they're demonstrating the maturity. So their ability to move to the final stage of certification is underpinned by having a mature aircraft design that has been rigorously tested on the ground and in the air. And look, we have had Salinas, we've had Osaka, we've had them showcasing the interior of the S4 at Austin, Texas. Look, at this stage, they're entering this TIA. There's no further adaptations needed at this stage. This is the aircraft we're looking at going into certification. Now, I know there was a little bit going around X yesterday around Archer. Looks like when they climb, they seem to climb vertically, and then Joby seemed to skim across the runway. We did reach out to Mark Berry there, and that can be a problem with flight telemetry. So that is not completely certain that that's what Joby does. It could be a delay in flight telemetry, and that's what's giving you that look as if it's skimming across the runway. As well as thousands of ground-based tests, they've already conducted more than 600 flights this year alone, demonstrating their full flight envelope, including the regular vertical takeoff and landing with 7 different Joby pilots. During the quarter, they completed their first point-to-point flights, traveling from Marina to Monterey and then Salinas Airport, California, demonstrating their commercial market readiness and their ability to operate in shared airspace.
Mm-hmm.
They believe this high level of maturity will be key to successful participation in the recently announced White House eVTOL integration pilot program. And look, there is a lot of talk about the pilot program, especially with the government shutdown at the moment. So the EIPP, established by the executive order, is designed to allow mature aircraft designs to demonstrate eVTOL use cases, such as passenger transportation, cargo delivery, and that's a big one we spoke about this whole quarter.
Mm-hmm.
The cargo industry is like an untapped into sector, and we know China are pushing out drones that are able to lift up to 2 to 3 ton. So I really want to see that. Emergency response. We're starting to see Joby push into that space as well. So we said Horizon had that edge where they were going into the likes of Medivac. We've seen Archer pull it out, and now we've seen Joby as well. And ahead of achieving type certification, and presents a remarkable opportunity for Joby to introduce their technology to communities across America. You're actively engaging with state and local governments across the country who are submitting applications for the EIPP projects for passenger operations to first response. Now, I was actually speaking to one of the guys, and this EIPP actually could be new to them. EIPP, when you actually dive into it, there's a hidden snippet where you have to be certified first. I will.
Good job. Good job.
Find that, yeah. So Joby have completed full stage 1. They're 97% of the way down, both the Joby and the FAA side of the means compliance, which is stage 2. Stage 3 completely cleared. That's the certification plans. Looking at their testing and analysis on Joby's side, they're a whopping 77% of the way there. That's 55% at the FAA. Look, Joby can't do anything about the FAA side, so don't worry too much about that. And look, already on stage 5, they're a 10th of the way there. They're 10% of the way there. Yes, they've announced today that they're on the power arm, but look, 10%. This is happening. Do you know what? It's no longer a concept, my guy. This is happening. So I'm excited about this. Scaling manufacturing. So they see the US government's EIPP program pulling early demand for their aircraft forward alongside the demand they're seeing for a range of international early adopters. They continue to scale manufacturing at pace, and they've already produced 15 times more type design conforming parts than they did in 2024. So as well as delivering their first TIA-ready aircraft, they've added more than 100 manufacturing roles in California. And look, what's starting to worry me on the Archer side is we know they have around 30 or so roles that have been secured in Covington, Georgia. These guys have just blown it out of the water there and over 3 times the amount. So over the past quarter, to meet the demand, and they've begun production of propeller blades at the Dayton, Ohio facility. Propeller blades make up the highest part count on the aircraft, alongside their partner Toyota. And I really want to hear a lot more about Toyota, how they unlock more tranches. Is there going to be any more investment from Toyota? It's just a big one. How are Toyota going to help them in the upscale? Look, this is where the Toyota switch actually flicks now, where they're starting to go into manufacturing. This is what Toyota specialize in. So this is where we need to see Toyota come to the table. We know they will. They've been able to successfully take the modular production process they've designed in California and drop it into the facility in Ohio, validating the methodological approach to scaling manufacturing. Over time, they expect their Dayton facilities to be capable of supporting the delivery of up to 500 aircraft per year, with their Marina, California facility continuing to support early manufacturing scale. So look, that's over 500 if you take it into consideration. That's getting close to the 950 on Covington, Georgia. Joby are starting to ramp up massively, and I want to hear, can we hear in the call, are they planning on any more manufacturing sites? Are they planning on expanding that Ohio facility? Because we know, look, even between Archer and Joby, 950, 500 or so, even 1,500 aircraft, we need this to scale massively.
Sure.
Look, this is a start. So preparing for global operations across New York and Southern Europe, their Blade team transported approximately 40,000 customers during the quarter, including Ryder Cup fans who are able to replace 2.5-hour drives with 12-minute flights, laying the groundwork for future Joby operations at scale. They reinforced the value of the ecosystem approach during the quarter, announcing they're expanding their global partnership with Uber to incorporate Blade services, providing. Has that came off the screen? Oh, this is why. We have our other brother here with us.
Hey, Vince, how we doing?
Good to see you,
So-
Reece.
Good to see you, Dylan.
Going back into it, they're providing an opportunity to connect millions of daily Uber users with the potential of vertical lift ahead of Joby's launch. Then going across to Osaka, Japan, they completed a multi-week campaign of scheduled demonstration flights as part of the World Expo 2025 alongside their partners ANA Holdings, Japan's largest airline. In addition to hundreds of thousands of attendees each day, and this was the big part, it was being able to showcase that not only this is the S4 in flight, but I think they're one of the first that actually demonstrated this is what the final design of the interior is going to look like. You can actually get a touch and a feel of it. So in addition to, so many of their 40 flights were witnessed by key stakeholders, including Japan, then Prime Minister Ishaba, and I'm going to butcher these names, so I don't want to. The Osaka Prefecture, reinforcing their deep connections with important market. In the UAE, the construction of the first vertiport site at Dubai International Airport remains on track for completion by the end of Q1 26. We know there's been a bit of pushback in the UAE at the moment with certification, but that vertiport is still set to come through at the end of Q1 26. And they continue to work closely with Dubai's Road and Transport Authority and the UAE's General Civil Aviation Authority to complete the final steps of air carrier certification as they look ahead to providing service as part of their 6-year exclusive access to the Dubai market. So this is one I am really excited about. We're talking about not only X-Wing, we're talking about NVIDIA XGI4, we're then talking about the L3Harris partnership. So then, an autonomous future, just 3 months after announcing they would partner with L3Harris to develop an autonomous gas turbine variant of their aircraft for defense purposes. And this is one thing, any of you guys that are big into Horizon aircraft, yes, you can say they have a great design, but at the same time, you're starting to see Joby push out now, and they are now making the hybrid. And they have NVIDIA backing them, they have Toyota backing them, L3Harris backing them. Look, money talks. They're having successful begun ground testing the aircraft, with flight testing set to begin immediately. They remain on track to demonstrate this aircraft's full capabilities next year as they prepare to complete the funding under the US Department of War's $9 billion financial year 26 budget request for resilient, autonomous, and hybrid aircraft. As the current administration looks to accelerate reform of the air traffic control systems, they also see a significant opportunity for advancing of autonomous flight. Over the summer, the team successfully demonstrated their super pilot autonomy technology as part of the reefer pack. Now, this is where IGX-4 is going to really come into it. So it's a landmark exercise over the Pacific Ocean. Using a conventional Cessna 208 aircraft, the team logged more than 7,000 miles of autonomous operations. And this kind of answers that question. Is the IGX-4 going to be used in the S4, or is it going straight into the Cessna? And by the looks of this, I don't know. Is it going into the Cessna? And then they're going to get the data there. So they've logged over 7,000 miles across 40,000 flight hours in and around Hawaii, managed primarily from Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, more than 3,000 miles away. Following the reefer pack, Joby was awarded a $17 million contract with AFWorks, the innovation arm of the US Air Force, to continue development of the Super Pilot. Super Pilot is set to be deployed and test on their turbine hybrid eVTOL aircraft. So it is going on the eVTOL aircraft as well, allowing to deliver known solution to the US government. Their adoption of NVIDIA's IGX-4 platform is expected to supercharge this technology, enabling them to deliver a sector-leading, platform-agnostic autonomy solution. And look, guys, we were talking about Archer's partnership with the likes of Whisk for the Sky Grid, and that was run by Boeing. We know that Boeing's autonomous flight in horizontal flight is amazing. But this is a completely different concept. This is vertical takeoff and land. This is in and around high-level public spaces where you're going to need to vertically take off and land. Who is going to go against NVIDIA? NVIDIA are going to sharpen your sword there. So, after all that, Dylan, do you want to read through the financial updates? Because I am running out of breath at the moment.
Yeah, let me pull it up really quick. And let me scroll down. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Let me see here. Give me the shareholder letter. And
Guys, while we're getting into it, how are we feeling?
Go for it, Reece. What you got? There we go. Shareholder letter. Guys, sorry about that. And would love to read it. Gonna scroll down to financials and we will get into it. Okay, here we go. Third quarter 2025 financial summary. In the third quarter of 2025, our net loss of $401.2 million reflected a net operating loss of $181.7 million and other loss of $219.5 million. Revenue for the quarter totaled $22.6 million and included revenue from the August acquisition of the Blade passenger business, the completion of the aircraft bed down actively at Edwards Air Force Base, and engineering services. So putting revenue on the books. That is awesome. Operating expenses for the quarter totaled $204.2 million and reflected costs to support certification and manufacturing of our aircraft and costs associated with the acquisition and operation of Blade. Expenses included stock-based compensation of $32.9 million and depreciation and amortization of $10.2 million and acquisition transaction costs of $5.8 million. Other loss reflected the non-cash equivalents of warrants and earnout shares of $229.2 million, partially offset by interest and other net income of $9.7 million. Net loss in the third quarter of 2025 increased by $257.3 million compared with the net loss of the third quarter of 2024. The higher net loss compared with 2024 primarily reflected the non-cash, unfavorable reevaluation of warrants and earnout shares of $233 million, and a higher loss from operating of higher loss from operations of $25 million grew. $25 million due to growth in our organization, increased purchases of prototype parts for manufacturing, testing, and certification, and the costs associated with the acquisition and operations of Blade. Compared with the second quarter of 2025, our third quarter net losses increased by $76.6 million. Other losses was $62.8 million. Other losses was $62.8 million higher than the prior quarter, primarily reflecting a non-cash reevaluation loss on our warrants and earnout shares. The higher loss from operations of $13.8 million compared with the second quarter of 2025 primarily reflected increased personnel and operating expenses as we grew the team to support the certification and manufacturing and Blade acquisition costs, partially offset by a higher revenue and payments from government contract deliverables as offset to our R&D costs. Adjusted EBITDA in the third quarter of 2025 was a loss of $132.8 million, primarily reflecting employees' costs and support associated with the development, certification, and manufacturing of the aircraft and Blade acquisition costs, partially offset by the higher net margin on revenue. The adjusted EBITDA loss was $12.24 million higher than the third quarter of 2024 and $1.2 million higher than the prior quarter. Adjusted EBITDA is a non-GAAP metric that excludes the loss from the reevaluation from our derivative liabilities, loss on common stock issuance in a private placement, stock-based compensation expense, depreciation and amortization, interest income and expenses, acquisition transaction costs, and non-operating costs. Please see the section titled Non-GAAP Financial Measures for a reconciliation of net income adjusted EBITDA. We ended the third quarter of 2025 with $978.1 million in cash equivalents, and investments in the marketable securities. We estimate that our use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments during 2025 will be in the upper end of the ranges of $500 to $540 million. Additionally, in October 2025, we completed an underwritten equity offering. Net proceeds from the offering were approximately $576 million and are expected to be used to support certification and manufacturing efforts, prepare for commercial operations, and provide general working capital and other corporate purposes. And then for anybody super interested in the financials, that's where you're going to get the condensed statement of operations. And this will give you the line items where it will compare your month spend. And that's going to be some year-over-year spend as well on that sheet for everybody. And then the consolidated balance sheet, that will again be the metrics. And this will show everybody where the cash basically has been spent within the company. So you can see intangible assets coming in at $20,968 comparative to the $8,127. So just kind of picking some lines here just to kind of show you real quick, and you'll see some other differences. So the total liabilities came in at the $469,857 comparative to the December 24. So this is a 9-month overview where that was $291,102. And then so the total liabilities and stockholder equities were to equal $1,309,000, and that would be an increase from the $1,203,465 from December 31st of 2024. Continuing on, you're going to find the condensed statement of cash flows, and this is where you're going to get into the amortization and as well as proceeds and different purchases of property and equipment. So you can see that those metrics went up as well. But again, working in this industry, it's one of the ones where you're kind of going to have the cash to use the cash and find your ways to be able to have enough cash to get to the finish line, which Joby has seen and proven to be able to do. And then we go ahead, come on down, and your last page on that's going to be the non-GAAP financial measures. So really quick, I'll just read this for everybody. Adjusted EBITDA is a non-GAAP measure of operating performance that is included to communicate the financial performance of activities associated with core operations that support the development, manufacturing, and commercialization of the Joby aircraft. Adjusted EBITDA is often defined as net income loss, or parentheses loss, before Before interest income, interest expenses, income tax expense would be a benefit. Depreciation, amortization expense, stock-based compensation expenses, loss on common stock issuance, and private placement impact on reevaluation from non-operating derivatives, liabilities, acquisition transaction costs, and other income costs, which are not directly related to ongoing core operations. We believe adjusted EBITDA, when I read in conjunction with our GAAP financials, provides investors and management with a useful measure of evaluation of our operating results and a basis for comparing our core ongoing operations from period to period, because adjusted EBITDA is a measure of performance of liquidity calculated in accordance with GAAP. It should not be considered more meaningful than or that as a substitute for net income loss as an indicator of our operating performance. Adjusted EBITDA may not be directly compared to similarly tired measures provided by other companies due to potential differences in methods of calculation. From time to time, we may modify the nature of adjustments we make, and we arrive on the adjusted EBITDA. So those are always two interesting financial metrics to look at, both the GAAP and non-GAAP, so we can really see what those operating costs are including in there. And then when you do take out those stock-based compensations, how the company is doing as well.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Do you know what? My voice is going there after reading all that. Guys, there is 176 of you here in the chat between X, YouTube. Do you know what? Officially, we are now the biggest eVTOL creator here on YouTube. But, guys, jump in, smash that subscribe button. We are no longer running ads. This way, it is completely interruption-free. You haven't got to click, skip every time we're reading. Same during the earnings call. Joe Ben's going to say something wild. You're going to be here first. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. It's the only thing we do ask you. No, I actually ask you one more thing. Do smash that like button too while you're at it. Reece, my guy. Sorry, mate. We actually had to start the stream early. Me and Dylan were just speaking. Next thing, Dylan just goes to me, earnings just came out. We're like, nah, we got to go.
No. I completely understand. I'm upset I missed the beginning. Was there anything there that I missed and I need to go back and read through that you thought stood out?
I thought one thing that really stood out for me, so the saying increased last 25 million due to the prototype and the likes of the blade acquisition. Look, coming into this financial year, they weren't expecting this blade acquisition. So I actually think they have done extremely well to acquire a business that is that close to being. That section of the business was very close to being cash flow positive last year. So I'm actually, I'm not that disappointed with it. I'm quite happy to see the likes of they're operating Super Pilot on the Cessna, and the questions going around the last day were, are we only going to operate the Super Pilot on the Cessna to learn about autonomy, or are we going to integrate them into all of the S4? By the looks of it, they're going to be integrating and testing it on the turbine hybrid VTOL aircraft. Now, looking at that, there shouldn't be too much of a difference between the hybrid VTOL aircraft and the S4 as long as they stick with the same sort of specifications. So I'm quite happy about that. I'd like to learn a bit more about L3 Harris, what they have installed there. Going across, that was the blade, so we spoke about that. Scale manufacturing is another big one. I've always spoke about both Joby and Archer. I just can't see how either 950 or 500 aircraft coming out of certification going forward is going to be able to make a dent in the industry. So I would like to hear, look, I'm not expecting it next year, I'm not expecting it the year after, but I want to see future plans. What is happening? Are they thinking about making Dayton, Ohio bigger? Are they thinking, because we know Archer are on about expanding Covington, Georgia in the likes of 2030. So are we expanding Dayton, Ohio? Are we thinking about making another manufacturing facility? How are Toyota going working it in this manufacturing rollout?
Point.
Because this is the first time where Toyota, the ball's in Toyota's hands now, where Joby have done their part of the bargain. They're getting them through certification. We're more or less there now at this stage. We said we're at stage 5, we're 10% of the way there. So what I would actually like to see, look, we know there's been that pushback with the UAE at the moment, but they said their vertiport is up and running, or it should be up and running Q1 and Q1 26. So why don't we make a manufacturing facility in the UAE? That way it'd be a nice hub between UAE, Asia, because we know we're starting to push Asia a lot more now, and then Europe as well. So I would really like to see them come offshore, but at the same time, they need to like build their crap. They need to like expand out that US base. They need to capture that market before. Look, we know Beta Technologies. Look, they're a little bit further back than both Joby and Archer, but they're adding to the mix too. I want to shout out, Scott Invest says added 500 shares yesterday. You know what? You're looking really good today because I think after hours we're up nearly 2%. Look, the whole market's pulled back at the moment, so don't let that scare you. The whole market's pulling back because the government shut down. Till that reopens up, there's not much more. Yeah, Reece. So stage 1 complete. Stage 2, there's only 3% of the way to go. Stage 4, 77% is completed by Joby at this stage. I think they'll cross the T's and dot the I's coming into next quarter. And then, yeah, stage 5. They only announced today that they were doing the power on for the stage 5. So if that's already 10% of the way there, do you know what? We're in for a big one. Yeah, and then like I want to hear a lot more about the IGX4 platform. So with IGX4, we know it came out as exclusive. Some guys were giving me pushback that it's not exclusive. It's an exclusive it's an exclusive launch partner of this product. Now, there's probably no little, I don't know, side caption that they can't go and introduce it into more aerospace companies, but they are the first to do it. So, look, it's a win. Every win's a win. Blade with the 40,000 customers, look, it's more strings to the bow. Yeah, like, then we need to hear about the eVTOL integrated pilot program. We need to see where that fits into the mix. I'm just so excited for this earnings call. This is the first Joby's earnings call in a while now where I'm actually so gassed. I'm so excited. I think Joe Ben's going to smash it out of the park. I think Joe Ben's getting better and better every time I hear him. But why wouldn't you be confident? You're leading this space. You have all the major partners by your side. Your aircraft is, look, more or less 90% of the way there. Touch wood unless nothing goes wrong. They should be within the next 3 to 6 months or so pushing through. Do you know what? It's a great time to be a Joby investor. Have you any thoughts on it, Dylan?
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of curious. One, definitely congrats to Joby and the shareholders on being able to have a quarterly call where you're having revenue on the books. I did not expect it to be actually in the 20 of millions. I thought it was I thought it was gonna come in actually at a lower figure, which I know this might seem odd, but I was actually curious, for these companies that were pre-revenue, when was the best time to quote unquote put revenue on the books? And maybe I was thinking a little bit more in a traditional calendar sense where do you want to close 2025 with a lower revenue to operating expense ratio versus being a, true pre-revenue company, or go ahead and, get the revenue on the books and look for that to only grow and increase over time. So I am very impressed actually with the amount of revenue that was able to be brought in through that Blade acquisition, as that will start to chop away at the initial buying offer price at that as well. Something that's also got me curious is the statement on the Q1 vertiport build out in UAE, but also kind of tangling that together in a positive way with the kind of statement with the forward pushing through the EIPP. And I believe it was on the highlights. I'd have to go back up and scroll to it to get the exact quote, but I think it said something at the beginning, Liam, about how basically through the administration pushing through and basically looking to get the eVTOLs rolled out a little bit quicker on the US side is basically kind of what I caught from that. So what I'm kind of battling now is I'd like to hear a little bit on how they're going to push through and look to build out the infrastructure in UAE with a possible delay in UAE certification. But now with us getting to 10% in stage 5. I'm actually curious now if we're going to get any more information on any US-based vertiports or FBO partnerships or anything like that that may come out for Joby, again, as being the first mover. Very curious if we're going to be able to see any of groundbreaking in those infrastructure sites pieces coming to the US soon.
Thank you so much for that, Dylan. Reece, anything that jumps out to you majorly in it? How bullish are you on Joby pushing forward? Have they stepped it up completely and knocked all the competition out of the park? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think it became quite evident in that last earnings call. I think they did pull ahead and really like spread their wings. I'm really interested to see about this certification. I still think it'll probably be another 3 earnings calls before we start getting the big news that part certification's there and we're starting to really roll it out. But I just love these diagrams. It's so clear. There's no fluff. We're 77% of the way there. There's 10% on stage 5, and they were saying the power on that stage on their TIA testing, like, and all of the news is very factual. This is what we've done. Here we are. Like, it's not we're going to do this and we're going to do that. That's more of the way that I'm sort of looking at it at this moment in time. Very similar to Scott, I'm adding still. I think the fact now that we've hit sort of a low with the $15 is like crazy to think from where we started. Like, I think if I'd have snapped your hand off this time 18 months ago. Yeah. But yeah, and even now the fact that I remember it was originally meant to be 2025, we got the part certification. Now we're sitting very close to the end of 2025 and it's 2026. And it's almost like a pinch me sort of moment because you're sitting there like, we could actually be there now. It was a bit of a pipe dream this time last year, and I think we all sort of hoped for 2025, but realistically, we knew it was going to end up on that 2026 trajectory. Especially if they are flying in the UAE, that's another feather in the cap. And yeah, very similar to you, the autonomy side of things is somewhere that it's inevitable that this is where it goes. I think it's not going to be as straightforward as like the year or two. I could see that being 2030, maybe 2035 sort of thing.
Big shout out, Ian Kerr. Busted out, boys. Have a great earnings call. This space is just getting started. Thank you so much, my guy. I really appreciate that. Do you know what? When we started this race, we never thought the community would get that big. Look, we have about 200 people between X and YouTube watching us live at the moment. I do expect that to increase. Guys, I've actually got a massive one for you, yeah? Me and Dylan tested this out the last day. If you didn't see eVTOL Weekly, after the earnings call, it's going to be the first time. You haven't seen this before. We're going to run a Spaces at the same time as the YouTube live stream. That way, anyone can call in completely free. You just go straight across to X, you raise your hand, and you can talk to us live. Now, just please be respectful. I'll be respectful to you. But and you know what? Me and Reece can get really, really passionate. So yeah,
most passionate earning calls in the eVTOL industry coming right here from you. But too, on the autonomous flight, you know, you had brought up a part at the beginning too, Liam, on talking about the cargo. And for me, I'm thinking that might be a very viable first use case for the autonomous flight, as again, we're taking humans out of the picture on the passenger side as well. So again, if there can be some just general sentiment, confidence, whichever words you want to put behind that. But it's kind of one of those things, it's like you see something working and then maybe you're a little bit more up for giving that, you know, a try. So, you know, something that can seem a little bit fearful or scary at first, you know, when you're in the line for that roller coaster, you know, you can have the butterflies in your stomach, but, you know, it's making its way back. It's making its way back. Everybody's having a good time, and then it's your time to go. So, you know, maybe we get those packages to be the first in line and go ahead, prove out the technology and continue to build up the data that the NVIDIA chips and such like that will be sending back and continue to build out those LiDARs and such and see what that technology can prove out as well.
Thank you so much for that. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly jump into the comments because I know this earnings call is not that far away, and I've just got a text from our good friend Francisco. Redwire has missed massively. It is now down 15%. My heart is broken again. So, bag of holding. Now that the conforming craft exist, they should know what the empty weight and max weight is. I hope they mention what they'll be able to carry during certification. Will they mention payload? Potentially. What about glide ratio? Has that been announced? I haven't a clue, my guy.
We'll look more into it.
What question would the Hustle brothers ask if they were on the earners call? So I said, what is their plan for mass scale out once fully certified? I think that's my biggest question here. Revenue is bonkers. It is, isn't it? We've reached a stage where we're starting to get revenue in this eVTOL space. Can't believe it. Bag said, I'd ask if the type conforming aircraft is going to be able to lift 1,000 pounds long enough to fly a route and have the 20-minute reserve needed for certification. Good question, my guy. Anybody got the Joby account already? Horizon. Oh, Hover. So Hover is Horizon Aircraft. It's based in Canada. They're a startup eVTOL, hybrid eVTOL farm. So yeah, we do cover them as well. Scott says, let's go. Added 500 more shares yesterday and today. Do you know what? After this earnings call, I think I'll be adding more. Not gonna lie. Beta isn't further back than Archer. It's had a transition manned eVTOL flight. Dax Player says, without the last dilution event, Joby had less than 2/4 of cash. Scary. Yeah, but that's why you dilute. Any rumors on when we see the stage 4 qualifications? That I'm fully aware of. I'm not even gonna hazard a guess, my guy. So I'll probably be wrong. Pray for my Smiths. Not scary because Joby making progress. Bought more shares. Dumped Archer. To me, it's scary. Yes. Do you know what? Look, dilution is not always a scary thing. The reason they dilute is to get more capital on the books to create. It's not always to protect their company; it's to create a successful company. So, I'm quite bullish on Joby's dilution. After 17 years, you call that progress. I call it dysfunctional. Fair enough.
Well, one thing that's interesting too in this is talking about the hybrid, and you bring beta into this, and whatever patent portfolio for the other eVTOL companies that we'll cover the earnings on as well. It is curious, as it does seem like the push for a little bit higher range, the regional operations may be coming a little bit more to the forefront. So it'll be interesting to see as they continue to go through the certification and any STCs and the continued rollout of any variations of these aircraft that the companies are able to have to really see if they're going to split off and have really more your shorter UAM point-to-point air taxi commercial type aircraft, and then you'll have your more regional higher range aircraft that could be maybe even on the autonomous side as well. So almost seeing a scaling up inversion of that, as well as maybe we might start off with these shorter range flights and still be in a test phase for those longer range. And then we might be a year or two in, maybe the eVTOLs now have their certification, and then we're maybe, you know, in 2028, maybe we're in a 2026, 2027 version of what that longer range certification path might be. And then just continuing to roll further in with these companies as they expand their envelope of use cases and opportunities.
Then, Pray For Me says, haha, here we go with 17 years again. I've seen both aircraft up close. S4 is much more redefined. Midnight is a hodgepodge of 5 years of stolen designs. Good luck with that. But I'm still bullish on Archer too. I'm bullish on both of them. Joby told us it would be dilution. Yeah, they did. Where's the glide ratio, payload, crash landing plan, real production estimates? I don't think that's something they'd put on the Q3 earnings call, my guy. At this stage, dilution is preferable to debt. 100% agree. The market ate up the shares day of dilution. Completely agree with that. 17 years isn't really fair. It was just experiments in the beginning when it was Joby Aero, it should start from when they went public as a shady SPAC. Do you know what? I actually, big shout out, like, you actually backed up the Joby guys there, so you know what? Thank you. Last, congrats on Joby, condolences on Redwire. Do you know what? Am I happy? Am I sad? Is it good or is it bad? Next player. The S4 looks like a compromise of everything, especially payload, compared to Archer.
Well, I will say what I'm taking from those comments too is now that we're getting through the TIA certification, I think there are still some questions that linger inside the eVTOL industry, which are going to be your payload. Really, again, how are you going to be operable for the different use cases? So now that we're getting through the TIA certification, which is awesome information to learn, as well as those charts have grown through the last quarters, I will nod towards stacks. Those are going to be interesting questions that if they're able to really uncover on this quarterly call, I think will again bring more investor confidence, not just both to Joby, but to the sector as well. So, again, Joby industry leader, they usually lead off in the eVTOL. I think Vertical Aerospace may have had their call, so I apologize, but just kind of in this general realm of what we've been covering a little bit more tightly with Joby Archer, some beta, and New Horizon. It is interesting as they're the first mover. So we're kind of, again, we're always leading with Joby. So really Joby has that opportunity to put their foot in the ground and really set the tone for what a eVTOL call will look like for the week of November 2025.
No, thank you for that, Dylan. And then big shout again to Ian, Bust Up Boys. Have a great earn call. This space is just getting started. I want to shout out you again, my guy. Matan, big picture. None of this worries me when we will be sitting at a $1 trillion industry. Christian says, have faith, not selling one share. You can sell them to me if you sell them, my guy. Right. Any final thoughts, boys? We're about to go into it. We're about to have a confident Joe Ben. I think we're going to hear a lot. Just please, Joe Ben, please don't mess it up, my guy. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Let's get this. How are you feeling, guys, going into this?
Go for it, Reece.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be quite a long call. It seems like quite a lot of new information has been released, and it all seems quite good news. So yeah, I'm expecting a good call, and hopefully we get a bit of a bounce tomorrow because of it. What about you, Dylan? Just before we jump in.
Yeah, I think again, interested in hearing about continuous on the vertiport build out, continuing to, and just really, I'm interested in the analyst calls. As I continue to do my best to evaluate this company, I'm ready to also pass the mic over to the analysts that have been covering this company for 4, 8, 12 quarters now, and see again how you get Bill Peterson from JP Morgan and Savi from Raymond James, usually really on top of the questions in these calls. So looking forward to those and the prepared remarks coming soon from Mr. Joe Ben himself.
Guys, 1 minute left. We have close to 250 of you here. Do smash that like button. Also, bang that subscribe button. It's the only way we can keep no ads. Look, this is the only YouTube channel. Show me another YouTube channel that is covering Joby Aviation earnings tonight. That is not with ads. There'll be no interruptions. No, that boring skipping over ads. It sickens you. You'd just be laying in bed all nice and you have to put your hand out to skip over
it's
the
so
ad.
hard. I go back, I do the quarterly earning notes. So I probably listen to the call 3 to 4 times. And it's like you're trying to get your minute marks in there. So when I go back on my timestamp, anybody sees it, there won't be directly to the Joby or Archer earnings call. They're going to be to the Hustle Brothers stream. So if you see any minute marks, hop over to the stream, and that's where you'll pick up the information.
Pray for my sniff says, nice channel, boys. Thank you so much. It's been 18 months in the making at this stage. Do you know what? It's nice. Look, guys, I am fully aware that I haven't got the screen up at the moment. I'm waiting for the call. At the moment, me and Francisco, we ran a launch earlier, but there was a bit of an echo. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to mute the boys once this earning call starts. That way we won't get the same problem we got. Remember the last Archer earnings call and everyone hated us? We were the worst channel known to man.
Oh my God.
Then I give them a grade A on the quarter. James, one of our members, big shout out, my guy. Thanks, guys. Great work. Looking forward to more. You know what? Beta Technologies joins the mix. Another one to be added. Love it. Michael Holden, if you put ads, more people will see it on their recommended. I disagree. Our biggest videos have came since we've turned off ads, my guy. Christian White says, nice work, boys. Mike, if you think about it, it's all about how people like things. It's not about whether they can put an ad, because there's no point putting all these ads up and people not watching the video. They'd prefer to keep you on the platform.
A quick one. Sorry about that, but before we get started, I think it might be interesting too to hear what comments Jobin as well as Joby have regarding the EIPP, and as well as the general just kind of buzz within the administration. And then, within a day or so, we'll be able to have a comparison from another industry leader, Archer, on the earnings call. So I think for me, that's something that I might need to take special note of on what's coming out of both of the CEOs' mouths, and really dive into what the administration's plans are with these companies to propel them first forward through the U.S. Because again, it did seem like GCAA was going to be the early adopter on the eVTOLs. So if we do get this flip over to the FAA and getting those regulations pushed through, again, could be further momentum in 2026 for the eVTOL industry.
Big shout out. This was a problem at the very start. I've been listening to the Hustle Brothers for so long, I can actually understand what Liam says when he speaks. Thank you so much. Remember at the very start,
you made it.
Everyone used to think I was speaking. I don't know. I'm not even going to say what they thought I was speaking, but I don't know. We're currently waiting. Yes, here we go. So.
And I think Jobin has done, what the industry needs. He's been an engineer with a vision, and he has worked hard. It's, I can't say because I don't know him personally, but I would say he's worked tirelessly to see this vision.
Thank you.
Come.
Good afternoon and evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Joby Aviation's third quarter 2025 financial results conference call. I'm Teresa Thurathiel, Joby's head of investor relations. We will begin the discussion with comments from JoBen Bevirt, founder and chief executive officer, and Rodrigo Brumana, chief financial officer. For the Q&A portion of today's call, we'll also be joined by our executive chairman, Paul Sciarra, and Blade CEO, Rob Weisenthal. Please note that our discussion today will include statements regarding future events and financial performance, as well as statements of belief, expectation, and intent. These forward-looking statements are based on management's current expectations and involve risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those expressed or implied. For a more detailed discussion of these risks and uncertainties, please refer to our filings with the SEC and the safe harbor disclaimer contained in today's shareholder letter. The forward-looking statements included in this call are made only as of the date of this call, and the company does not assume any obligation to update or revise them. Also, during the call, we'll refer both to GAAP and non-GAAP financial measures. A reconciliation of non-GAAP to GAAP measures is included in our Q3 2025 shareholder letter, which you can find on our investor relations website, along with a replay of this call. And with all of that said, I'll now turn the call over to JoBen.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you everyone for joining us today as we discuss our third quarter 2025 results. The past few months have been momentous for our team, as well as demonstrating the remarkable potential of our aircraft by flying in front of hundreds of thousands of people here at home and overseas. We've also moved the ball meaningfully down the field on certification, and we've passed one of the most important milestones in Joby's history to date. As we announced this morning, we have now begun power-on testing of the first of several aircraft we will build for TIA, or Type Inspection Authorization. Entering TIA is widely understood as marking the final stage of the certification process and is a very strong indicator of a company's ability to reach type certification. This is the moment when our certification strategy, our intended type design, and our manufacturing processes all converge into one physical asset. Let's take each of these in turn. First, our certification strategy. It might sound simple, but our certification strategy is the result of more than a decade of working alongside the FAA to develop a certification basis, the means of compliance for our aircraft, certification plans, and test plans. These are the documents we've been talking about quarter after quarter in these calls, and they are absolutely required to get to TIA. Second, having a stable design is the result of years of focused engineering and testing, using the same design and putting it through thousands of hours of testing on the ground and in the air. If you continue to make changes to your design, you can't enter TIA with a high degree of confidence that you'll complete it expediently. Finally, on manufacturing processes, this aircraft is one of a series that we are producing under Joby's FAA-approved quality management system. Each of the TIA aircraft, including this one, will be built with FAA-conforming components as required by our FAA-approved test plans. Each of the relevant components will be built to FAA DER, or Designated Engineering Representative, approved designs, and then inspected and signed off by FAA Designated Airworthiness Representatives, or DARs. This process adds a lot of overhead to the build processes. It's not fast or easy, but it is what's required to start TIA flight testing. Bringing all of these elements together is a huge achievement, and I'm incredibly grateful to the team at Joby and at the FAA for the years of hard work that led up to this moment. We continue to plan for this aircraft to take to the skies later this year, flown by Joby pilots, clearing the way for FAA pilots to start for-credit testing next year. As I mentioned earlier, having a mature and stable design is central to being able to move with certainty and pace through the certification process. And over the past quarter, we've been able to build on that maturity, demonstrating a remarkable cadence of flight testing and demonstration flights, as well as continuing to fly several times a day out of Marina, where we've demonstrated climbing, descending, accelerating, and decelerating, all at max rates. We also flew our first A to B mission, flying down to Monterey and back. A few weeks later, we participated in the California International Air Show, completing a 20-minute flight that saw us take off vertically, fly to Salinas, complete a demonstration that included multiple transitions between forward flight and hover, and return to Marina for a vertical landing. And we did all this while a separate Joby team completed 2 full weeks of regularly scheduled flights in Osaka as part of the World Expo, demonstrating the aircraft to hundreds of thousands of attendees, including the Japanese Prime Minister and the Governor of Osaka. The operational rigor and consistency we've demonstrated in completing these flights is a testament to the remarkable team we've built and the maturity of our aircraft. It is also preparation for our future commercial service. Speaking of which, it was a privilege to fly Ryder Cup fans back and forth from Manhattan to Long Island this quarter via our Blade service. 2.5-hour drives were replaced with 12-minute flights, highlighting the potential of vertical lift to a key audience of flyers. Our Blade team excels at delivering operations at scale, combined with the highest levels of customer service. This operational experience, combined with the maturity of our eVTOL platform, puts us in a great position to take on the opportunity presented by the US government's recently announced eIPP program. Through an executive order, the President has directed the Department of Transportation and the FAA to ensure that mature eVTOL aircraft can begin operations in select markets in the US ahead of full FAA certification. We are already in advanced conversations with a wide range of state and local government entities who are submitting applications for the program, and we believe that having a TIA-ready aircraft, as well as a wide set of operational experience, will put us in a very strong position to deliver the high levels of safety the FAA will require to participate in this pre-certification program. We see the eIPP program pulling early demand for our aircraft forward. Taken alongside the demand we're also seeing from a range of international early adopters, it's clear we'll need to keep accelerating production if we are to keep up with the incredible demand we're seeing for our product. The level of production we are preparing for has never been seen in the aviation industry, and we're incredibly grateful to be working closely with Toyota as we plan and execute for scale. And we've already produced 15 times more FAA-conforming parts so far this year in Marina than we did in all of 2024. As well as growing in Marina and adding more than 100 manufacturing roles this past quarter, we've now begun production of propeller blades at our Dayton, Ohio facility. This is a great example of our approach to scaling, where we'll perfect manufacturing processes at home in California before scaling them alongside Toyota. Before I hand it over to Rodrigo to talk about our financials, I wanted to touch on my excitement for the future of Joby. Our core focus is, and always has been, the development of our core S4 platform. That's the aircraft you see flying every day. We put a huge amount of work into designing it from the ground up, and we've built it in a vertically integrated way. As I've said many times before, this vertically integrated approach is our superpower, because now that our platform is mature, we're able to move with incredible pace to adapt it to a wide range of use cases. I'm confident that hydrogen will play a very significant role in the future of aviation, supporting a wide range of new applications and aircraft types. And the experience we've already built in this field puts Joby at the very forefront of innovation. This year, we announced we would work with L3Harris to develop a turbine electric variant for defense use cases. And I'm pleased to say, just 3 months after that announcement, we're already ground testing this aircraft with the hybrid system in the loop, and flight testing is set to begin imminently. In fact, just yesterday, we had the FAA on site working with us to grant airworthiness for this vehicle. L3Harris has been a great partner on this journey, and we remain on track to demonstrate the full capabilities of this aircraft in the coming quarters and compete for some of the $9 billion the U.S. Department of War has requested for the acquisition of resilient, autonomous, and hybrid aircraft in the FY26 budget. Joby's approach to vertical integration puts us in a unique position to move from concept to demonstration and from demonstration to deployment at a pace that's almost unheard of in today's aerospace industry. And it demonstrates the value of dual-use technologies, allowing us to get new tools into the hands of America's troops as quickly and cost-efficiently as possible against the rapidly evolving national defense landscape. That advantage also counts when it comes to autonomy. While our initial air taxi product will launch with a fully qualified commercial pilot on board, I believe a future where we are able to take the pilot out of the loop is approaching more rapidly than I expected even 6 months ago. For decades, the principal barrier to commercial autonomy hasn't been technical or regulatory. It's been the way our commercial air traffic control system works. The current system still requires a human being on a radio to speak with another human being to deconflict airspace, file flight plans, and confirm departures and arrivals. The current administration has indicated its intent to invest in modernizing this approach, making much needed investment in the infrastructure that controls our skies and laying the foundation for commercial air autonomy to take off, much like the adoption of autonomous ground vehicles has. At Joby, we're making sure we're ready for that step when it happens. Over the summer, the team we brought on board from X-Wing demonstrated our SuperPilot AI technology stack as part of a landmark Department of War exercise over the Pacific Ocean. Using a conventional Cessna 208 aircraft, our team logged more than 7,000 miles of autonomous operations across more than 40 flight hours in and around Hawaii, managed primarily from Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, more than 3,000 miles away. Once again, illustrating our commitment to not just talking about innovation, but demonstrating it. This same technology is set to be supercharged by our recent announcement with NVIDIA. Joby will be the aviation launch partner for NVIDIA's IGX Thor platform, which uses their Blackwell architecture to help ingest extraordinary amounts of data in real time to support an even more performant and safe autonomy stack for our aircraft. Integrating this level of compute will help us maximize the potential of autonomous flight. We'll be able to deliver autonomous mission management that enables the aircraft to determine, request, and follow optimal flight paths while adapting to changes in weather, air traffic control instructions, or unexpected events. It will also support onboard compute processes for high-rate data from radar, LiDAR, and vision sensors, as well as supporting sensor fusion, combining data from a range of sensors to deliver reliable and accurate aircraft state estimation and situational awareness in the most challenging environments. It also establishes a foundation to develop features that enhance operational insight, reliability, and performance, including predictive system health monitoring and digital twin modeling. We'll be deploying Superpilot on the aircraft we're developing with L3 Harris, allowing us to deliver to the government the same tech stack they've already seen successfully deployed on conventional planes, but this time on a low altitude VTOL capable aircraft. The testing we complete on this defense-focused vehicle will also feed forward into a commercial AI autonomy stack that we plan to have ready and tested just as soon as the commercial air traffic control system is ready for it. The level of technological and regulatory progress we're seeing today is unprecedented, and it is matched by an incredible commitment to aerial innovation at both the state and federal level. We've positioned Joby to make the most of these opportunities, and I've never been more excited about the company and the technologies we're building. Rodrigo, over to you.
Thank you, Joe Ben, and good evening, everyone. During the third quarter of 2025, we made several important advancements, further positioning Joby to create durable, long-term value for our shareholders. When we spoke last quarter, I identified 3 areas of focus: implementing a disciplined capital strategy, scaling methodically, and translating our technical and regulatory progress into long-term value. Let's talk about capital strategy first. At Joby, we are shaping a new industry and bringing an entirely new technology to market. This requires substantial efforts across engineering, regulation, partnerships, infrastructure, and manufacturing. To achieve this, we are strengthening our balance sheet. At the end of the quarter, we had approximately $978 million in cash and short-term investments. In October, we added net proceeds of approximately $576 million, further strengthening our position. This gives us the financial strength to continue to lead the industry and bring new innovations to markets across the globe. Next is scaling. We are investing now to build capacity for global air taxi demand. We are methodically scaling manufacturing, and we are very fortunate to have Toyota with us on that journey. As Joe Ben said, propeller blades are a critical component and the highest part count on our aircraft. We have started to leverage our Ohio facility to begin ramping our production of propeller blades. Ohio has the skilled labor, the supply chain network, and the space to scale our production as we grow. Scaling also means preparing our global operations. Following our acquisition of Blade, we are already running a network of high-frequency routes in New York and Europe, connecting major airports like JFK in prime locations like Nice to Monaco and Manhattan to the Hamptons. These routes are the blueprint for electrified air taxi service, proving the model today so we can transition seamlessly once our aircraft is certified. At the same time, in addition to our successful flight demonstrations in Japan with ANA, we also expanded our global partnership with Uber to include Blade services. This opens up a powerful opportunity over time to connect thousands of daily Uber users with the experience of vertical lift well ahead of Joby's commercial launch. Meanwhile, in Montreal, we formally accepted our first flight simulator, developed in conjunction with CAE, a global leader in pilot training systems. This fully immersive simulator is a prerequisite for commercial pilot training and marks an important milestone in preparing Joby for scaled operations. These efforts are building the foundation for our global network, beginning with Dubai next year and expanding to new markets around the world, turning our regulatory, commercial, and technical progress into long-term value. Now, I'll present our Q3 financial results in more detail. We ended the third quarter of 2025 with cash and short-term investments totaling $978 million. During the quarter, we raised $101 million through our ATM facility and an additional $33 million from warrants that were exercised. As I said earlier, after the quarter ended, we received net proceeds of $576 million through an equity offering, further increasing our cash reserves. Our Q3 use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments totaled $147 million, $35 million higher than last quarter. That was primarily due to an extra payroll run in Q3 versus Q2, growth in operating expenses, working capital changes, and one-time costs related to our Blade acquisition, which accounted for $6 million. This spending also included about $13 million on property and equipment, up $1 million from last quarter. We remain on track to hit the upper end of our full year 2025 guidance of $500 million to $540 million in use of cash equivalents, and short-term investments, and that includes the impact of our Blade acquisition. On a GAAP basis, we reported a Q3 net loss of $401 million, a $77 million increase from Q2, largely driven by $262 million in non-cash items, of which $229 million was a non-cash charge related to warrants and earnout revaluation. The remaining non-cash items were related to stock-based compensation, depreciation, and amortization, all within the normal ranges. The large non-cash revaluation charge related to warrants in earnout shares was due to the increase in our share price, which negatively impacts the calculation and gets updated every single quarter. Revenue for the quarter was $23 million, including $14 million in revenue from Blade from August 29th through September 30th, and $9 million from other revenue, which includes the completion of all required deliverables as part of our Agility Prime defense contract, as well as other engineering services. We do not expect Agility Prime revenue to continue as the work has been completed. Total operating expenses for the quarter, including about 1 month of Blade, were $204 million, up about $36 million from the prior quarter. The increase was largely driven by the inclusion of Blade operating expenses and acquisition-related costs, coupled with higher staffing and program spend to support key milestones, including progress on the final assembly of our first TIA aircraft. Adjusted EBITDA, a non-GAAP metric that we reconcile to our net income in our shareholder letter, was a loss of $133 million in the third quarter. This was just about $1 million higher than the prior quarter, reflecting the revenue booked in Q3, offset by the increase in spending I called out before. Compared to the same period last year, our adjusted EBITDA loss was $12 million higher, driven by the growth in our team to support aircraft design, manufacturing, and certification, along with early commercialization investments. As we look ahead, our focus remains on disciplined execution, advancing certification, scaling production, and preparing for commercial launch. With a robust balance sheet, proven technology, mature program, flying aircraft, and world-class partners, we are operating from a position of strength. We look forward to meeting folks at the Dubai Air Show in 2 weeks, where our aircraft has been cleared by both the General Civil Aviation Authority and the Dubai Civil Aviation Authority to fly full transition every single day. Thank you for your continued support, and operator, please open the call for questions.
Certainly. We'll now be conducting a question and answer session. If you'd like to be placed into the question queue, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate your line is in the question queue. You may press star 2 if you'd like to move your question from the queue. We ask you please ask one question, one follow-up, then return to the queue. Once again, that's star one to be placed in the question queue. Our first question today is coming from Christine Liwag from Morgan Stanley. Your line is now live.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to follow up on your progress with your international partners. I was wondering, with the early adopters, are you planning to provide commercial service with a Joby aircraft prior to getting FAA certification, or are you waiting for FAA certification to start flying globally?
Hey, Christine, this is Joby. Great to speak to you. I assume you're speaking about Dubai in terms of the international partner. We're making incredible progress in Dubai. We have aircraft that's there and flying right now. And as Rodrigo mentioned in the prepared remarks, we have permission from the GCA and the Dubai Civil Aviation Authority to be conducting daily flights at the Dubai Air Show. So that's incredibly exciting. And I think what you're going to expect to see over the course of 2026 is more and more flying there as we deploy more takeoff and landing locations. And we're seeing incredible momentum and amazing support from the local regulators. So in short, the answer to your question is yes, we continue to expect to be operational in Dubai prior to FAA type certification.
I see. Great. Thank you for the clarification. And for a follow-up, you guys highlighted your progress on autonomous systems with SuperPilot, which sounds really interesting. So is this going to be a software that's also going to be added to the Joby aircraft? And because, from my understanding, the Joby aircraft initially would be VFR. So are you adding the IFR capabilities with the autonomous systems, or are you also going to add a expansion to IFR before going to full autonomous? Like, can you please help me understand the bridging there?
Yeah. So thank you so much. This is a huge, a bunch of huge accomplishments on the autonomy front, and something that we're really, really excited about. The first, just to reiterate, the SuperPilot, the X-Wing team, and took SuperPilot enabled Cessna 208 and flew it 7,000 miles around the Pacific as part of the Re4Pack exercise earlier this year. That demonstrates the operational maturity. We operated that aircraft in a whole bunch of different classes of airspace, and really showcased how robust that autonomy platform is. When it comes to taking that autonomy platform and putting it into the S4 platform, that's going to be something that we will do progressively. It's a very step-by-step approach that we're taking, but we do think that it's going to have really significant benefits when it comes to on both the safety side and the operational efficiency side. So we're really excited about that, and we think that is built on the foundation of these changes that we're expecting in the air traffic control framework, as I talked about in my prepared remarks. So we're really, really pleased with both the regulatory side of things and the technical side of things. Also thrilled to be working closely with NVIDIA and bringing the phenomenal compute capabilities that they've developed to aviation, and thrilled across all the different dimensions on the autonomy progress.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question today is coming from Austin Moeller from Canaccord Genuity. Your line is now live.
Hi, good afternoon. As part of the EIPP, are there any avenues for you to generate revenue in any way in that test phase with those aircraft? And as a second part, could you generate revenue from flying aircraft in a JV partnership overseas during this test phase?
Hi, Austin, this is Paul. So with respect to IPP, this is kind of what's going on and sort of how we think it's going to play out. So right now we have a number of different applications that we are close to that are in the process of getting filed with the Department of Transportation. Those are going to get filed basically through the end of the year. In the early part of next year, they will then down select to 5, with those starting, we think, in the middle of next year. Now, look, this is a really exciting opportunity for us because it allows us to put aircraft into operation here in the US, I think on a far faster timescale, at scale, than we might have thought. And it's really one of the things that's driving the focus that JB mentioned in the prepared remarks around scaling production to now meet this kind of faster demand than we were expecting. Based on what we know now, the application set is pretty broad. A number of them include passenger transport, cargo transport, medevac, and certain of them we think are going to have an opportunity to have a sort of commercial bent. So without having 100% confidence at this point, like we do think there are going to be interesting revenue generating opportunities that come out of the IPP program. Regarding your question with respect to JVs, I think the revenue that you may see from those sorts of partnerships would be pre-orders and or prepayments for aircraft that were going into those JVs. We announced obviously the partnership with ANA in Japan. That is one that could sort of look like that. But I think the real question now is ensuring that we're able to build enough aircraft to meet this broader, faster demand than we saw. So that's why manufacturing is sort of the focus.
Okay, and just to follow up, are you going to be able to fly the conforming aircraft in TIA testing as long as the means of compliance remains at 97%, or does it not matter for proceeding with flight testing in that phase?
Yeah, thanks, Austin. So just to be really clear here, we are so excited about the progress we're making on building these aircraft for TIA testing. This is the culmination of all the work that we've been doing over more than a decade, and it builds on an incredible foundation of work from both Joby and from the FAA. And as I spoke about, this is heavy lifting from FAA DERs, FAA DARs to ensure that as each of these aircraft is getting built, that they're getting built in a really meticulous way. So this is a huge moment to be beginning the power on testing of this aircraft. I will also add that we are building a total of 5 aircraft for TIA testing, and all 5 of those are in the production process as we speak. So the momentum we're seeing on manufacturing and scaling manufacturing is really fantastic. The reason this is so important is these are the aircraft that FAA pilots will get in and fly for credit, and those are the final stages of our TC process. Like we're doing the heavy lifting, we're doing the work that's required to get us through TC, and it's happening right now. So just can't tell you how proud I am of the manufacturing team, how proud I am of the certification team, how grateful I am to the FAA and their lean in. They're working shoulder to shoulder with us. They were here yesterday giving us the airworthiness, moving through the airworthiness process on the hybrid aircraft, and they're not getting paid, right? So the commitment, the lean in, the passion from these aviation professionals is just really unprecedented, and we can't say how grateful we are to all of them.
Thank you. I'll pass it back there.
Thank you. As a reminder, that's *1 to be placed into question queue. We ask you please ask one question, one follow-up, then return to the queue. Our next question is coming from Andres Shepard from Cantor Fitzgerald. Your line is now live.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon, and congratulations on the quarter, and thanks for taking our questions. Joby, I wanted to maybe go back to the first question just around commercialization. So it sounds like we're still targeting commercialization ahead of FAA certification in the Middle East. Are we able to get more clarity on kind of how you see that unfolding, or just in terms of timing or number of aircraft? I think in the past you had mentioned passenger flights potentially by the spring. So just wondering, is that timeline for next year, is that still on track, or do we perhaps see maybe it pushing into the right slightly? Thank you.
Thank you, Andres. Great to catch up with you. So the progress we're seeing and the momentum, as I mentioned, in Dubai is really fantastic, both with the GCA, with the Dubai Civil Aviation Authority, with the RTA. We've got all the regulators leaned in. Skyports is doing a phenomenal job on moving forward with infrastructure. We have a team there, and we're building out that team, staffing that team, doing the training, and putting all the pieces in place. And I'm really excited and grateful for the progress that we're making day in and day out. In terms of we expect to be ramping that operation through the course of this next year. I think that the real critical bottleneck is going to be, and the demand you asked about is very, very substantial there. The bottleneck is going to be how fast we can ramp manufacturing, as Paul was talking about, to meet that demand. And this is where I'm so proud of the team and the progress we're making on scaling production and scaling it alongside Toyota, whether that's here, in Marina, whether that is the progress we're making in Dayton on blades. And I think this is the real central pillar of the work that we have in front of us is to scale manufacturing as aggressively as we can, and we're making great progress.
Got it. Okay. And I guess as maybe a follow-up for Rodrigo, are you able to maybe help us understand, like, how should we think about blades revenues for Q4 and for the, I guess, and throughout next year? I mean, is $22 million in quarterly revenue and 55% gross margin, is that the norm, or what's the best way to think about that for maybe next quarter and throughout next year? Thank you.
Andres, thanks for the question. Rodrigo here. We are not providing any guidance specific for next quarter or next year. However, we would like to point you to what has been said publicly, and Blade had a number right before the acquisition on August 29th. So essentially, we are not deviating from it. Number two, let's just remind you that Q4 is when the low season starts. So Q4 is, one of the lowest quarter there. And we are happy to have Rob here just to add a little more context here. Rob.
Hi, Andres. It's Rob Wiesenthal speaking. Performance has been pretty good this summer. As you've probably been reading, but I think what's also important to announce is the kind of expansion opportunities that we're taking advantage of. Shortly before this call, we announced a pilot program for our very first commuter route to the public, serving New York suburbanites who live in Westchester, Bedford, Rise, Scarsdale, Greenwich, with flights that go between Westchester Airport in Manhattan that turns a 1.5-hour drive during rush hour into a 12-minute flight. You can fly with a commuter pass for as little as $125. That'll be a 5-day-a-week service. It's actually our very first public commuter route, and that's important because the industry has been very much focused on airport flights, which is clearly an important use case. We've been doing it for over 6 years, but it was really time for us to kind of expand our service offerings to include commuter routes. And once the Joby aircraft is certified, we expect new landing zones to be approved and activated, which will offer even more convenience to people who work in big cities. And we're going to see more of this in the future. We already have pods of communities, like in Deal, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, where people fly to work there and back every morning. That's a 2-hour drive that becomes a 15-minute flight. So we're very excited about the prospects of expansion under Joby's ownership, and things are off to a great start.
Wonderful. That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question today is coming from Savi Syth from Raymond James. Your line is now live.
Hey, good morning, or good afternoon. Sorry about that, long day. Just to follow up on one of Austin's questions earlier, just around certification and the shutdown as well. Just the TIA, the aircraft that you're building and doing ground testing right now, is that the one that will be flying? Do the propellers kind of get added back? And then what exactly can you do with that aircraft in TIA testing while the government is shut down? It sounds like, as you pointed out, FAA is coming in and doing certain things, but I was curious what you can and cannot achieve during this time.
Hi, Savi, this is Paul. Thus far, we've gotten incredible lean in from the FAA, even during the shutdown. That included, as JB mentioned, I think in the prepared remarks, having their FAA airworthiness folks here on site to do the checkout for the hybrid version of the aircraft. That's actually still ongoing today. And these are folks that are showing up without getting paid. So we're really obviously sort of grateful for their work on this in this sort of difficult period. When it comes to the progression of the TIA aircraft, look, we're going to be doing the power on checkout, progressing then to Joby piloted flights, and then moving from there to FAA piloted flight testing for credit on that vehicle. Right now, we don't necessarily anticipate that the FAA flight test pilot portion of that testing is going to be delayed by the shutdown, but this is obviously still a very much evolving process. And we have been very pleased with the lean that we've gotten, but like if this shutdown persists longer and longer, there's certainly some uncertainty in how that's going to play out. But from the Joby standpoint, we just want to make sure that we're ready with the right aircraft, ready with the training for those pilots, and then ready to begin the FAA flight testing just as soon as we can.
That's very helpful, Paul. And maybe if I can just follow up on that, then, like I think the rule of thumb is, once you start TIA flight testing, it's about a year and a half from there to, full certification. Just how much of that happens with kind of the Joby pilots, versus kind of when do the FAA pilots kind of step in and do that part of the testing?
So this, Paul, I guess I'll pick that up. Look, the timing of the TIA flight test portion is sort of variable depending on the program. And we've obviously got a plan that we're sort of working with FAA that includes 5 different aircraft that are going to be flown in various levels of parallelization to try to speed that process up as quickly as we can. As JB mentioned, all 5 of those aircraft are in some part of production at this moment. And obviously the first one of those is sort of in this power on stage as we get ready for its first flights. With respect to how much time is spent with the Joby pilots versus the FAA pilots, as a general rule, we want to make sure that we are doing the things that we need to do for FAA for credit flight testing internally before we do them with FAA pilots in seat. Much of that work has already been done on other versions of these aircraft. So it's really about making sure that we have those TIA aircraft ready at the right time. And in turn, we line that up with the availability of the FAA flight testing pilots. And that's going to be the sort of synchronization that we have to manage, starting basically now.
Helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question today is coming from Bill Peterson from JP Morgan Chase & Company. Your line is now live.
Hi there. Good afternoon. This is Mahima on for Bill. I was curious, how should we think about the pace at which you'll move across the Stage 5 certification progress bar once TIA testing starts? And should we really start to see that acceleration beginning next year as soon as you get the FAA pilots on board?
Thanks, Mahima. So we're really excited to get into TIA, as Paul talked about. The other element and a key piece to be cognizant of is the way we've built our reporting on Stage 5 is that we will get points on the board when we submit those test results. So there's a huge amount of work that's happening on the Joby side as we take the approved test plan and we build the part that is going to get tested, or the aircraft that's going to get tested, and then we run the testing on it, and then we write the test report. We submit that, and then we get credit on stage 5. So it may be that a lot of the progress that happens on stage 5 is when we're very, very close to the finish line. I think the important thing is that in addition to making incredible progress on manufacturing of the 5 TIA aircraft, the team is also making incredible progress on the manufacturing of the test articles. And those test articles are very challenging from a manufacturing standpoint, because each one of them is different from a production part. It has intentional changes that are that we're putting into those parts that have been specified by the FAA DERs. And so this is really fantastic work by the manufacturing team, and we're making incredible progress on it, which puts us in a great position both for the TIA flight test, but also in terms of completing all of the component level testing required to complete stage 5.
That's really helpful context. Thank you for that. Maybe as a follow-up, you started manufacturing propeller blades in Dayton, but are there any other conforming parts you expect to also transition to Dayton in the near term? And then how quickly could you ramp up that capacity you'll need to support certification efforts?
Yeah, thank you. So really thrilled with the team in Dayton and the quality of workforce that we've been able to build there, and the speed at which we've been able to onboard those folks and have them contributing in a huge way. We're also thrilled with the support that we've received from the state and local government in Dayton, and we see massive opportunities to continue to expand our footprint both in our existing facility and as we look forward in the Dayton region more generally. In addition, and again, following the model that I spoke about, where we perfect a process here at our pilot facility in California, and then we're able to scale it alongside our partnership with Toyota, I would love to just highlight how vitally important Toyota is, and how strong the relationship that we have with Toyota right now. We have never been closer with Toyota. Toyota has never been more leaned in, and we think that they are an unparalleled partner for us as we look to take aviation to a scale that has never been seen before.
Great. Thanks so much for answering our questions.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, we ask you please limit further questions to one question only. Our next question is coming from Edison Yu from Deutsche Bank. Your line is now live.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for taking the question. I'll keep it at one. Wanted to ask about the hybrid for defense. How should we think about the design? Is that something you just kind of put an engine on the existing airframe? Do you need to redo the airframe? Is the supply chain going to get more complicated? Just how to think about the process and design for hybrid. Thanks.
Thanks, Edison. This is Paul. So look, our approach is really in line with the sort of principles of dual use. Where possible, we want to take full advantage of the proven airframe that we have developed and tested over the last 5-6 years. And we also want to be able to take advantage of the manufacturing lines that we already have ready to produce those components down the line. So I think the right way to think about that aircraft is a sort of variant of the existing vehicle that is then in turn missionized for different customer use cases. What I think is really exciting, though, is that we've been able to move from concept to soon sort of demonstration of that vehicle at a very rapid pace, basically sort of 3 months from when we announced the L3 partnership to the preparations for flight testing that are happening right now. In turn, we think we're going to be able to move from demonstration to flexible deployment with those customers very quickly, because we've got a manufacturing line that we do not have to scale up or retool, where most of the components are essentially the same manufacturing line that we're using for the broader sort of commercial vehicle. And that speed is something that in our conversations to date, the customers are really looking for. They are not so happy with the sort of traditional procurement process, long spec writing, competitions, and then sort of moving to these sort of restrictive contracts. They are instead looking for things that get new technology into the hands of warfighters far more quickly. And we think we've got an opportunity with this platform in conjunction with L3 to deliver exactly that.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Chris Pierce from Needham & Company. Your line is now live.
Hey, good afternoon. I was just curious, and if you fast forward a year from now, like what's the best possible outcome for the Blade transaction? Is it just more passenger throughput in New York, or what Rob talked about? Is it adding routes so you can seed kind of customer demand to get people to consider air taxi at a higher rate? Like if you fast forward a year, what would you consider make a success out of this? To get people enthusiastic about air taxi and the business.
Hey, it's Rob Wiesenthal. I think you have to, if you step back and you look at the thesis of the acquisition, it was to de-risk and accelerate the deployment of the Joby aircraft into commercial service. So we're going to continue working on projects where we can achieve profitable growth, new routes, expansion of existing schedules. We recently expanded our JFK schedule to include another node on the east side, and also deepened our Newark efforts. And in Europe, we've been focusing there as well on opportunities. So I think the focus on profitable growth and continue getting more data, acquiring more customers, getting more infrastructure access. And I think that's going to be terrific. That's really going to educate us and help us deploy these aircraft once they're certified, and to do it in a way and at a speed that I don't think the competition can match. It's a real head start versus the competition in every market Joby wants to enter.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Amit Dayal from H.C. Wainwright. Your line is now live.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just, with respect to all the comments on the call today, keeping in mind where we are with manufacturing readiness, and all of the testing going on, what is the earliest we can take advantage of, this EIPP initiative? Is 2027 a reasonable time frame, or could it be potentially earlier than that, where some of these aircrafts get into operation?
Hi, Amit. This is Paul. I'll try to pick that up. I'm not sure I totally heard it, so I'm going to sort of repeat what I understood the question to be. So your question was, when do we think we can start first operations under EIPP? And the answer to that is that we now have, with the IPP program, once the down select happens early next year, we've got a date certain for the start of those operations. And that's essentially mid next year. That is a really exciting opportunity, and one that I think Joby is sort of uniquely positioned to take advantage of. Our understanding under IPP is that it's going to require aircraft to be at a high level of maturity. Our understanding is that means it has to be in the TIA process. It's also going to require the operational know-how to put those aircraft into service in the real world. We already have a lot of that from the demo flights that we've done, and we get to really supercharge that with Rob's team at Blade that obviously knows a lot about high tempo vertical takeoff and landing operations already. But finally, you also need to make sure that we have the aircraft. So part of the focus now around scaling production is to meet this demand that is now higher next year than I think we were initially anticipating. So our focus with both the expansion of the Marina facility, the continued rollout into Dayton, and obviously doing both of those things in close conjunction with Toyota, is to make sure that we really ramp production to meet this opportunity. Because from our perspective, an opportunity to get these aircraft operating in the US as quickly as possible benefits Joby, and it certainly benefits the broader industry. And we think we're in pole position to kind of make that happen.
Terrific. This is Teresa again. Thank you, Amit and Kevin, and thanks to all the analysts for your questions today. This quarter, we're doing something a little different. We also invited our broader community to submit questions on X and Reddit. We were thrilled with the volume and the thoughtfulness of the engagement. We've selected a few representative questions to ask and answer now. The first one actually is coming right back to you, Paul. It says, when do you expect to start the integration of autonomous capabilities into S4?
Thanks, Teresa. So as JB mentioned in the prepared remarks, the first instantiation on a Joby developed aircraft of autonomy is very likely to be the hybrid aircraft that I mentioned earlier on in the call. This is one that's obviously focused on defense applications. We think that's a perfect test bed for this stack. One, because it's already been well tested with this customer on conventional aircraft. And two, because there's not the same sort of regulatory rigor around certification for these sorts of platforms. So it's the right place to begin to extend the existing superpilot capabilities to low altitude VTOL capable, to prove that out as soon as we can and in a wide range of mission sets so that we're ready if and when there is an opportunity to translate that to the commercial side of things to move very, very quickly. So long and short, that's going to be, I think, the first example of how we begin to roll this out on a Joby developed aircraft.
Terrific, thank you. Another question also coming in from X. How do you see the future product offerings as both Joby and Blade actively scale operations, particularly in Dubai?
Sure.
Rob, would you like to start with on that one?
Sure, let me take that. Just as we mentioned before, Blade helps to de-risk and accelerate the deployment of Joby aircraft into commercial service. And that includes Dubai. So the knowledge we have on routes, on infrastructure, the flyer base, we are not starting cold, we're not starting from scratch. Anybody else tries to do this, they're starting with zero knowledge. We have flown hundreds of thousands of people over the past decade. And then if you take a look at our European operations, 1/3 of our European flyers are from the Middle East. So it's a brand that's well known there. The Middle East consumer consistently embrace premium brands from the West that provide exceptional experiences that have trust. So I think we're in a terrific shape to help get that launch out and in front of the public and have something that people really enjoy and find is extremely reliable.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, I think we could maybe get one more in. And this one's a fun one. In fact, it asks for how about something fun? 5 years into passenger flight, what kind of crazy things can you see Joby involved in that will blow our minds now? Joben?
Thanks, Teresa. So I think the key thing to focus on is that vertical integration is Joby's superpower. This is something that we have invested in heavily for many years, and it puts us in an incredible position to be able to develop just game-changing aircraft, all built on the foundation, the incredible technology foundation stack that we've built. I'll add two other dimensions. One we've talked about, which is autonomy. Autonomy is going to unleash many new and exciting applications for aviation. And by leading the world in aviation autonomy, we think we're in a really strong position. The final dimension is hydrogen. Hydrogen, as I think many of you have heard me speak about, it has 3 times the specific energy of jet fuel. With fuel cells, we're able to convert the chemical energy in hydrogen into propulsion twice as efficiently as a small turbine can convert jet fuel into propulsion. And what that means is that you can build aircraft with game-changing new capabilities. And so as we look to the 5-year horizon, we think the future for Joby and the future for the technology stack that we're building has never been more promising. And I'm so excited to bring these transformations to the world.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We greatly appreciate your support.
Thank you. That does conclude today's teleconference and webcast. You may disconnect your line at this time and have a wonderful day. We thank you for your participation.
Guys, how are we feeling after that? That was a very, very confident Joby. That's the most confident I've actually seen him. Looking at it, I think the market seemed to have liked what they've heard, 2.67% up. Still, what are your initial thoughts?
You know, and I don't, you know, I'm gonna go out and say that some people that watch this channel may know me as the Archibald, so I am taking my Archibald lens off, and I'm going straight with Joby and to what I heard reported on the quarterly call today. I do think that, let me just get back to my page 1 notes right here. I do think that, again, Joby had strong prepared remarks when he came out. He did comment a little bit closer here. He did comment regarding the 10 years working with FAA, having the DERs and DARs on site. Also, the continued, what's the word? Just having the continued presence of FAA employees on the ground with them, even though government shutdown. So basically, again, reiterating that these employees are on the ground, still working as a DAR, DER, being unpaid for that work. So again, to me, hearing a lot of the EIPP and what that could do for the industry. You know, what I heard, honestly, is that Joby is very confident in the aircraft that they are building. There's some other things that I'll get to maybe a little bit later, but very confident in the aircraft that they are building. But scaling seems to be something that has come a bit I'll say it's a concern, because I think the ramp that Joby needs, I believe, is coming a little bit quicker than they expected. We got some questions asked about the Dayton facility. I don't think really those were directly answered, but I'm not here. I don't really want to tear down, Joby, on just first glance after the call. I think it was a strong call. They brought in the revenue. It was a lot of Blade CEO talking. So I'm kind of curious just how involved he is now in the operations of it. They got the one aircraft that's ready for power on testing. I believe that was 5 others that are going to be ready for TIA certification as well. And I guess, also looking into the, they were granted they were certified by Dubai as well as GCAA for the Dubai Air Show. So positive on them. So it does look like everything, is green flag for them to continue to fly at Dubai Air Show. So continue that momentum. Obviously a good thing there. And we got some clarification on Superpilot, where it seems like that may be on a different version of the S4, although they did speak to the current, I believe, about 3 months or so of development of that aircraft alongside with L3 Harris. Also having some FAA representatives there on the ground, kind of working alongside to get through that certification on the L3 Harris side as well. And just kind of continuing to hear that push and pull between when they're going to be ready for GAA cert over in Dubai versus what they're able to do here in FAA and ramp and be ready for that. So initial thoughts, digesting, and I'm sure I'll have some more. How about you guys?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I come out of these calls sometimes and I actually feel like I know less than when I go in there. Going into the likes the UAE, is that something we're going to really press down on? Because it's one of those, we like to talk about going into the UAE and we like to expand outside the US, but now that, I don't know, it just feels like it's a cloudy thing. It didn't really feel like we got a clear answer on what's happening in the UAE as such. I get what you mean about Blade talking an awful lot. I had a feeling it was going to be a very heavy Blade conference call, just because it's the first time we've proper seen revenue out on the books. I did find it quite interesting that they have doubled down and said, going forward, as Joby does get certified, they will be increasing the landing zones. Now, the only thing, this is where the path sort of gets crossed a little bit, is at what point is this whole Blade passenger business just going to be a full-on Joby Aviation thing? Because at the moment, it just seems like it's very, this is Blade's passenger business. We're going to run our air taxi business. And it's, I don't know. I didn't want to know what's going to happen with the likes of the assets Blade has now. Like, once certification does take place with the S4, are you going to phase out the helicopters? And therefore, are you then going to sell your helicopters?
When they were talking about the de-risking in that, not to break your thought, but he was bringing up a lot of de-risking in that. So I don't know, maybe to couple that with your thought, is it de-risking the commercial acceptance? So getting Joby's name out there so that when they flip to the eVTOL, it's like the name brand is already de-risked and we can associate with that, versus And then speaking to, and then just really quick, I'm sorry to cut you off, Liam, but again, it was talking about, that with Blade having a lot of the forward knowledge and operations to be that air taxi mover. So it does seem like that they're going to continue to move forward and wanting to be that owner and operator over the aircraft, as well as the air taxi network as well. It seemed to me that they kind of double stamped on that one as well.
Yeah, and then we heard a lot about autonomy, and it felt like in that question and answer session, Joe Ben was pushing autonomy an awful lot. I just think at the same time we can't run before we can walk. Let's get through certification first, and then we'll talk about autonomy in the passenger business. I know ramping full out they want with that L3 Harris, that gas powered hybrid. They want to start really pushing forward with the autonomy, but I don't know, this next 5 years, that question idea, I don't know if I like them two retail investor questions. I think they're I don't know. Yeah, that one at the end, in the next 5 years. Could we see autonomy in the next 5 years? I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch, maybe. Reece, what are your thoughts on the whole call?
So I think I've got to start off with what a presentation from Joe Ben there at the beginning.
Oh,
I think I was Joe Ben's biggest hater at presenting when this all started. I think I referred to him as the man in the kebab shop at one point. There was a lot of ums, ahs, but he definitely learned the script. He's been practicing his speaking. He felt confident. I believed every word he said until we got to the Q&As, and then it became a little bit more. Oh, we went back, but still, they're like, I'm not going to take that away from him. I thought it was a brilliant call. I really liked the obviously mentioned about going into that TIA testing. There was a little dig in there for you, Archer, the Archer Ball. He was saying about continue to change design. Those companies that continue to change design can't enter TIA confidently. So that was a little dig. That was a little dig for this earnings call over to Archer. But yeah, I could see basically jumping in on your point there with this Blade sort of partnership. I could see them sort of getting to grip and understanding how the rides work and who the customer base is, then changing the logo and starting to get maybe the over to Joby or Elevate or something. Then I think we could see, like, I think it goes step by step. If you change too much, people will just like rebel and just be like, I don't want this. But then change it, and then you'll be like one S4 will be there, then it'll be two, and you just take a helicopter away. And then I think that's what the process is. But I think they need to get an understanding. And I don't think we're 1 quarter away. I don't think we're 2 quarters away. I think we're probably the best part of a year before we're starting to see any commercial rollout. The one thing I will actually pick up on now, and this is, I felt a little bit misled in terms of the FAA have allowed us to fly before we get certification. And then it wasn't the FAA, it's over in Dubai. That was a little bit of it gave us a bit of a bum steer there. Because I was thinking, really? They're going to, for certification, you're going to be able to fly? And then when someone asked the question and he was speaking about Dubai and the GCAAP, I thought, you're better than that. You're better than that. We don't want that. But yeah, overall, like, to be honest, I think as well the hydrogen aircraft, especially for the military, big money could be there. And as we were saying before, a lot cheaper to run than helicopters. Maybe when the government freezes over as well, we might start seeing some investment going in.
I actually liked hearing about Toyota. He seems to be very confident that the relationship with Toyota is stronger than ever. Yes, we didn't get an awful lot of material around the mass scale out, but he said he is open to that Ohio facility being expanded. Do you know what? I think when that Toyota switch does flick, they are a juggernaut. Like, I don't know, once we get Toyota on the ground there and we get that mass scale out, rolling out, yes, I can see what you're saying. Look, we could be 12 months away. it feels like you're one step closer, and then all of a sudden, it feels like you unlock a new level. You unlock like it's just this hidden like part that we never thought was there comes out. So look, they didn't say anything that's like pushed me away from Joby. If anything they've said made me have questions about the industry in general and go, okay, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer than we initially thought across the whole industry. Anything they said didn't actually like put me, oh, Joby's actually not performing how I thought they were. I actually think Joby are smashing it. I actually don't think that call could have went any better. Yeah, I do agree. Question and answers, he was and ahhing a little bit, but I just think that is his personality at the same time. We need a kebab shop man.
And really quick, what I did appreciate, and we'll come to find out tomorrow, but what I did appreciate is when we were speaking about the L3 and Department of War, it wasn't, we can't tell you, it was like, okay, we're partners with L3 Harris. This is what's going on inside the doors. And, so we have a roadmap of that, so again, to any other competitors in the industry, if you're going to have those things be a secret, why is it a secret? If L3 Harris, can allow you to divulge what you're doing inside of those walls, I just, again, makes me curious of why that's so secretive with inside of the other companies as well. And then to the Q&A, I do look at some of the analysts to ask some of those intelligent questions to be able to, kind of map us down where we're going here for the next quarter, year over year and such. One thing I noticed that was a little bit different from this quarter was it seemed like it had to be a lot of repetitive questions, a lot of follow-up. So it was really like kind of through the Q&A, I didn't find that many of the questions were directly answered, which was leading other analysts to really have to spend their time re-asking the question to ultimately maybe not get, I don't want to say a desirable answer because we're all going to desire the best answer, but maybe more of a concrete answer that analyst can run with their, analyst price predictions and go with their write-ups and such like that. But yeah, no, I agree. I think, again, if we're looking at Joby, we're looking at them at the timeline of the industry, they are placing the map out there. So unless there's another player in the industry that can figure out a way to get through the certification quicker. And, one thing, and I didn't hear, one thing actually I didn't speak about before, but I'd be interested in hearing is further explanation on the Geeks charging ports. Because again, it was spoken that there lays a cybersecurity risk in the charging stations. So when you're having basically all of your data and all your information pulled off of the dashboard, when you're getting that CCS charger in there, to Joby's employees saying that in the Geeks network, you're not having that opportunity for those cybersecurity breaches through the Geeks charging ports. Now, also, anybody can go back and rewatch that interview as well, just to make sure, I'm speaking factually on it. The Geeks charging, with them having all of the data being able to pull off that charging network, it has allowed them to get through areas of certification quicker. So I'm kind of just curious, now we're going to get this power on testing. So I think ... what happens next? What do we see in the next 3 months now that we have a power on testing with one aircraft? And how many more of the aircraft, I think, can we get to power on in these next 3 months before the next quarterly earnings call?
Yeah, another thing that, look, I'm not trying to beat them down at all, but when they said they have 5 aircraft in various stages of production for that TIA, it was a bit like, you could have told us, like, what stage, like, are we in design phase? Are we, like, I just wanted to know what part we're in. Then another one was the Blade CEO. They asked him what the outlook was for the next quarter. He said he doesn't have an outlook, but then we're no longer doing outlooks with them. But we do have a secret outlook that we're aiming for. That is what we previously discussed on Blade's outlook. But at the end of the day, we didn't actually get what he was referring to, and now I'm going to have to go back through Blade's previous conference call to go and look to see what the outlook was. Where it could have just been simple, look, we're not actually guiding for anything, but we're looking to follow and then just say
And
whatever.
like they had the
and
answer there,
nothing.
I think you can positive spin that answer too. They said, we're coming up on a dead season. It's going to be winter season, not as many flights taking place, and we'll reevaluate come next quarter once we have the data on the books to get through this quarter. I think you could answer it in that way as well.
Then I want to jump straight into the comments here because they are building up.
Yeah, what are they saying?
So Scott Invest says, I think I'll continue to add Joby accumulation as much as I can. Jabs at Archer, I like that. They're getting orders left and right. The demand is going to be huge. I agree with you there. Seemed to be a lot of noise and fluff. Glad the stock didn't tank. Let's hope Adam pulls that off tomorrow. I agree in certain aspects. I don't think there was an awful lot of noise and fluff. I think the question and answers could have been streamlined a little bit more. There was certain things like the buy he didn't really want to expand on. What else was there he didn't want to expand on? There was another thing. The manufacturing. He didn't actually give much substance to that. But look, it is what it is. If I was a CEO of a 15 billion market cap company, I'm sure I'd be on an iron too. Backflare says, I don't see Joby growing as a stock. Commercial launch in Dubai delayed. Production capacity persists. Payload issues remain, and cash flow runs out by end of Q1 next year. I don't know. I do see them growing, my guy. James says, I think Blade's helicopters are rented and not owned by Blade, so I guess they will switch them for S4 fairly soon. Can you actually double check that for me? Because I was under the impression that they owned 24 helicopters themselves, but do double check that for me because I could be completely wrong there. Scott Invest says profits and margins would go up as an S4 provides Blade trips. Maintenance costs would drop significantly, and that is completely true. VaccC says, am I remembering this wrong, but didn't retain certain parts of the business that weren't included in the Joby deal? I don't know what you're referring to there, Vass. Would you be able to retype that for me, please? I got the sense that it's all about ramping up production capabilities now that TIA testing has begun. And that's what we have been calling for the last 3 months on eVTOL Weekly is, look, it's starting to switch from who has the better aircraft and the engineering capabilities to now we are a business and we need to produce.
And maybe real quick, Liam, just on the Blade, on just a quick AI overview, Blade's passengers business does not own any helicopters as it uses an asset-light model. And just really quick, passenger operations, Blade's former passenger business Blade's former passenger business is asset-light and does not own any aircraft. It works with a network of operator partners. Joby Aviation acquired the passenger business in August 25. And then just really quick to the medical operations, and that's Strata Critical Medical. The medical division has a fleet of about 30 owned and dedicated aircraft, some of which are helicopters. So if that clears anything up for anybody in the chat, hopefully.
No, thank you so much for that. Look, I was completely wrong there, so I'll hold my hands up. Bagger Holden says, they have a type confirming craft now. It's the final version. They should give us the specifications for it now, and it's no longer theoretical. I don't think it's no longer theoretical anyway, my guy. Joe Ben clearly avoided Dubai. What's the main reason for the delay? Good to see you, Reece. Long time.
How are we doing, Black's player? No, it's been good. I think that's the one thing about these earnings call. Like there's times when I'm just reading the chat and I'm just chuckling away to myself. It's so good. It's just like the interaction. It feels like we're all together, like in the same boat, sort of listening to it out.
Well, and dodging the Dubai, if this goes in any favor of Joe Ben or Joby, it goes back to something I was saying, even with the switch when Archer Defense came on and really with the administration changeover, when Archer had the Launch Edition program, which included, UAE, and then the administration took over and it seemed like the EIP through the executive order started rolling out. So it was really almost like this competition of who was going to be that first mover. Was it going to be UAE or was it going to be US soil? And through the administration, it seems that it is a forward-looking administration for technology and one that wants to have that, if it's a brand new technology, showcased on their soil. So I am curious, as these eVTOL operators are having to work and battle what has been the brick wall of the FAA, how much you have to appease then generally the FAA to have these aircraft certed and have the opportunity for the market survey flights to first be conducted on U.S. soil. And if that's something that's going to hold up the industry, if they're going to just go straight for UAE and go through GCAA and do that in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, if they're not going to get the support of the administration and not have the unpaid DERs and DARs on the floor, I mean, that's going to be a CEO decision that each of a company decision that each of the CEOs are going to have to make on, whether they're kind of ready to fly off and look what revenue they can get in Dubai and come on back when FAA certification may be available, or tackle that big brick wall, try to bust down FAA. And once you get that, FAA shares information with GCAA just as they do the other way. And it seems like the FAA, once they stamp something, you should be good to go in most places of the world. So I think it might be a bit of GCAA FAA battle, and these companies trying to figure out, how do they stay not just relevant, but cash flow positive, and have enough money to get to that time when final decision is made by FAA.
Yeah. And then going into what's been happening now post-call, we're still up 2.73%. We have got a lot of clarification on what we have previously been asking prior to earnings. We're sitting at 1540. So what, over the 5 days we are down, aren't we? Yeah, 11.92% down. Reece, I'm not going to ask Dylan this because I know he's not incredibly...
Because I went off camera.
...to Joby. But are you adding Joby, Reece, after this call?
Yeah, I can't see a reason that you wouldn't after that call. As always, we're not looking for the next 2-3 quarters. We're looking out till the 2030s, 2035s, $1 trillion industry after all. As I said, I think there was enough on this call. And as always, it's a results call. It's one that they're telling us what they've done. Obviously, the autonomy and the hydrogen, they're sort of more putting in the pipeline and letting us know. I think it's still going to be, as I said, I think it's going to be another 9 months really, but I'm willing to wait and hopefully get my just desserts there in the end.
Everything we've heard today, they're still the market leader. They're still miles ahead. Like I said it previously, anything they disclose to us that would delay is going to delay the whole industry. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing they've said today that is actually going to put me off Joby Aviation. If anything, look, I am going in, and I'm going in quite heavy tomorrow because, look, me and Francisco spoke about in the stream prior to this that, like, once this government opens back up, I think everything's bouncing, and it wouldn't surprise me if Joby does start pushing towards that $20 mark. Yeah. It does leave me questions. Archer Aviation now tomorrow. What are we going to do? How can Archer eclipse them? Can they... Look, I expect Archer to have a decent earnings. I don't know if we announce a redesign after Joby having such a good earnings. Can it tank Archer more? I don't know. Going into tomorrow, I'm not entirely confident that Archer will smash it out of the park. But Dylan, what do you think Archer could do that would eclipse Joby's call today?
And one thing I just want to give Joby credit, and really this whole industry credit for, in an investment, you got to have a thesis and you got to have your own timetable and, kind of figure out what makes sense for you, whether you got a 5, 10-year, 20-year horizon, or whether you're a day trader, and those are the moves you're looking to make. Something I like about the eVTOL industry and investing in it, and especially the way that Joby presents their share deck and their shareholder letter and their slides, it's a pretty clear roadmap. So as an investor, gives me a timetable of time. And again, I think the benchmark is we all want to beat the S&P 500, which is at about, 10 to 12%. 10 to 12% on average. I think it's hitting about that right now, I believe. So, for me, if somebody was, through this bull market we've had in the past good year and a half, 2 years almost, if somebody's heavily up in their portfolio and if they're able and have the time horizon to take a year of consolidation, that can also be an opportunity to continue to add, into my eVTOL portfolio if I don't need my 2026 year-over-year gains to be, at X percentage. If I'm able to have that be an accumulation year, knowing what I'm looking for in future flight. And to the question about Archer tomorrow, what can they do to smash it out the park? Well, first thing comes to my head is what shot are they going to take at Joby? So we'll wait to see at that. And I don't need the shots going back and forth. I think at this point I'm ready for Joby and Archer to join teams. Archer to say, here's the keys to my manufacturing facility, and Joby to say, all right, you're going to get X revenue, and Archer's like, all right, I'm going to sell your aircraft. You can go run the operations and do what you need to do. Maybe something that Archer could do to smash it out of the park is actually speak about the sale of aircraft and how they're not as concerned about operating an air taxi network. And then speaking to a timeline of sale of aircraft. I think if we get any news on their Archer Defense project, I think that's a huge win because we have heard absolutely nothing besides them being a partner with Anduril. That's all we really know. We know Anduril is doing autonomous flights and doing fighter jets, but we really don't have any much information on what's Archer's doing behind the doors. So it'd be really interesting to hear if maybe there's been, I think we would already know it's probably not a delivery of a cage or anything like that over to Anduril, but I would love to hear if there's anything, or if Anduril's maybe possibly checking out the final productions of the aircraft that are going through final assembly on the Archer side. And, maybe again, Archer can surprise. And I guess, we'll have to see, because I believe they were at 12% certification on the last earnings call. I don't know. I guess I can wait to see on what specs that would have got them to maybe cert to a higher percentage, and just kind of gauging out again what is holding up Archer in that certification process. And also to the Archer investors, I was thinking about the ADBS pings that were going off. And if anybody wants to clear this up, when we get on the spaces later, we're talking tomorrow. I am curious, as the ADBS signal goes off, there's been a lot of kind of hype and talk that we may be getting a VTOL flight coming off of the N704AX aircraft. But even to your points that you've made, Liam, Adam spoke that we're not really doing VTOL until mid-26. So if that's the case, when we are getting these ADBS ping signals, I'm just curious, maybe this is a question for Mark, or Google. I can go and check out, can an ADBS be signaled without really an aircraft being ready for quote unquote, VTOL operations, if it's, really just being transported to a different hangar? Could it be a section of the aircraft that's been pieced up that can, transmit those signals, and then you're still going to go fix the wings, fix the props, fix the blades, excuse me, and get all that on the aircraft. So, and then also getting some further information and clarity on where they're at in their build, because I believe they had 6 aircraft in final assembly and 2 were at the Covington, Georgia factory. Yep. So being at that, let's see what 3 months of an aircraft at the Covington, Georgia factory can do. I'm sure they're going to talk about LA, but you said to blow it out. So yeah, those are the blowout things. I need to hear 1, 2, 3, all of them. Yeah.
I think I've got a slightly different response to you, Liam, man. It's like it's just a one word answer, and it would be a partnership with Tesla. I'm telling you right now, it would mean absolutely nothing at this moment in time. It would mean nothing. But I would be hyped.
Don't do it, Reece.
I'm telling you.
I'm happy you said that, not me.
I'm telling you.
Like, there's still a glimmer of hope.
Don't get me started.
Oh man!
Other than that, I like, on a more realistic note, I think for me it's more about steadying the boat. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to eclipse them unless they obviously pull that off. But genuinely, for me, I would prefer them to be saying, if they are doing a redesign, we're doing this, it's going to take this long, we'll be in production NX. Now, I don't think we'll get any of that. We'll have to clip that. That's the beginning of it. That's the short.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting, like you said, Reece. It'll be interesting because when you talk about announcing the redesign, I'm still curious if that's what they really did on the last quarter. So I think what it seems like from the Archer community is getting the actual verbiage from Adam saying, "Hey, we are in a redesign," versus we're going from a 2 to a 4 aft prop. And maybe, like you're saying, Reece, if we are in that redesign, where are we at in that redesign? And have those.
That's the like
That's your word. Yeah. Clarity
is the last two calls that I've become like.
Mm-hmm.
It just that when we were saying earlier about fluff and a bit of like smoke and mirrors, and I just feel I go like so what you were saying earlier, Liam, about like you go into the call and then you leave it with like more questions than you came in with, and you're a bit like, like where are we? Are we like I don't even.
That's
trust
the only thing
word
that does scare me about Archer tomorrow. Like if Joby's open my eyes today, I'm actually afraid what Archer could do tomorrow. That will like scare me a little bit more. If we get a redesign announcement, I actually think that the start's going to tank. But look, is it priced in? Is it not priced in? I really don't know.
They could possibly be thinking we'll wait till we finish the redesign and then release the news, but that could be another quarter, which is a bit of a worry.
I was predicting 9 months, so I think it's 2 quarters away.
If I hear another oh we're progressing and we're further along than last month and stuff like that, I might end the call and just say that's it. I'm done. But like I feel like for the last 2 or 3, like we thought they were neck and neck. I actually thought at the beginning of the year that Archer were ahead, and it's just became more and more.
You're gonna get clipped there.
More and more, yeah.
Well, and to that point, Reece, it almost seems, and to like you say, Liam, it kind of seems like it goes back and forth quarter to quarter, almost on like, I mean, yes, Joby ahead in certification, has the better shareholder letter and such, but it's like, it does seem like it flips almost quarter to quarter on who has the better quote unquote earnings call. So, I guess you can look at it both ways. What are we expecting out of Archer? And, what news are they going to surprise us with in a good way? And then what kind of news could they surprise us with in a negative way, and then how will the stock react from there? And again, always to keep in mind that these companies, it's not just a stock price, it's a market cap that these companies are operating under. So, you just got to check out the valuation and see if these companies' market caps make sense to you at the current share prices.
Yeah, no.
Guys,
I do
in the chat, jump in and smash the like for our little apprentice hustle brother there. I'm not going to say his name on YouTube, but shout out to the little guy there. Did I cut across you there, Reece? Sorry.
No, but that was pretty much it.
Scott Invest says, great show, thanks for the coverage, Hustle Brothers, Joby. Guys, yeah, look, there's still 250 of you here between X and YouTube. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you, there's not that many of our followers actually watching this on X, so I know you're not following me if you're watching on X, so make sure to jump across and hit the follow, which we'll be covering Archer Aviation earnings tomorrow. Again, ad-free. That was the best thing we ever came up with, Reece. No more ads, no more interruptions. How seamless was that, guys? We didn't lie to you, no ads whatsoever. So do bang that subscribe button. That's the only thing we do ask you to do. There's no selling here. The only thing I'm selling you is bang that subscribe button because it's completely free, my guys. A little dig because they do it to us the whole time. They normally come into our stream and take their guys. We were the biggest eVTOL channel that streamed tonight. So big shout out, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. That makes it
very. Do you know what? We shake hands with each other. I'd love to go to them now and say, yeah, right. It is what it is. We're a year away and we done it, my guys. So I'm proud of you two. Big shout out. Tom Mycelli says, hello everyone. Keep in mind Joby still has 250 tranche from Toyota. Per Gemini, Toyota does still have an outstanding investment of 250 million, which is supposed to close later this year, and that's nothing we're not taking into consideration. Francisco, talking about the whole cargo base in the eVTOL industry, Kratos saying they have a contract for a cargo eVTOL. Francisco, you know what? I'm actually going to deep dive that with you, and we'll run a video on that. I just don't want to take up the Joby with them. Then Hookdom says, what is your end of year price target after the call? I'll be dead honest with you, my end of year price target is $18. 18.
Yeah.
That's 10 or so.
I think, on a very good, bit of a bull run, I'd say 20 at the push. Yeah. And I'd be very happy going in at that.
What's your end of year price target?
For Joby, I'm gonna stick at 15. Macro environment, ups and downs. Yes, we're in a bull market, high market cap, but I'm gonna stick with 15. I'm gonna stick with 15 as my end of the year.
Oh, that's solid. Me and Francisco are actually speaking about this. We said over these last 24 months, we're constantly getting the fear index shown to us, and we're bouncing. It's like ping pong between extreme fear and extreme greed. Look, eventually we're going to get caught out, but you shouldn't go off past performance. But going off past performance, we normally bounce from extreme fear to extreme greed. And I actually do think running into that Santa rally, we're going to get a nice $18.
Especially with the government shutdown getting turned over as well.
So then, Francisco says Archer's probably going to be hurt by the shutdown. They are not going to get any government money till next quarter. Yeah, but Francisco, remember Tesla reset it there earlier.
Well, and to Francisco's point too, I think it'll be interesting as we listen tomorrow. Does Archer's EIPP comments match up with Joby's today on timelines? Are they totally off, or do they have nothing to say on it? So it'd be very interesting because Joby did speak to it, and they spoke to timelines within their company.
I'm just getting loads of notifications all of a sudden coming through X. Sorry, my guy. Hook them says, what a joke. Tesla is real, EIIP consortium partner. I'll believe when I see it, my guy. If Archer says redesign, it'll tank the stock. Yeah, I do think so. Now everyone iterates on Joby. If the redesign is smaller than they are doing, then smaller wouldn't work. Issue is Joby is compromised on everything. Issue is Archer is compromised on everything. This is the stuff that was going on during the chat.
Appreciate that one, Lex. Hey, I'm trying for the little one, man. We're trying. That now it's in Adam's hands, right?
You know,
Adam, my little one's future's in your hands. No, I push the buy button though.
Dylan's little guy is the future owner of the Hustle Brothers. Trust me, guys. He's the little apprentice. He's coming through the ranks there now.
On another stream, I'll give you his year-over-year percentage gain. So check in on the next Hustle Brothers stream to hear the 4-year-old and how he's doing on the market this year on his own picks.
And I bet he beats most of you guys.
He's doing pretty good.
Dax player. Oh yeah, Dylan. Then James says Archer will not announce any kind of big redesign, in my opinion. I believe they will certify the 4-blade lift prop version with relatively minor changes only. And that's the thing, like going into what happened, they said they weren't ever aiming for a vertical transition. They said this back in June, so anyone can fact check me here. They said it back in June that they were never planning a vertical takeoff and landing with a pilot on board up until by earliest Q4 2025. So I don't know why any of us did actually anticipate that it was going to be any earlier. Look, redesign, no redesign. We just need it to happen at this stage. This will Liz. Francisco, great job, guys. Thanks for the info. Francisco, big shout out. Thank you so much for coming earlier. We got the echo sorted out in the end. Thank the Lord it didn't happen on this stream because I could just see it in my eyes. The same thing that happened on our last earnings call with Archer and everyone like cussing us out. But no, thank you so much. Guys, do smash that like button. Still 250 of you here. You know what? How far have we come? This has been, is it a year? A year since we first started streaming. Channel's 18 months old. We started running up videos. Yeah, it's been a year since we've started streaming. Come a long way. We never had crowds like this at the very start, so it still feels like we're three mates just sitting chatting about Archer and Joby like we always have, and that's how I like it. Love the community. Yeah, biggest thing ever. You can thank Reece for this. No ads, guys. No ads. Find me another YouTube channel that streams Joby Aviation, Archer Aviation earnings with no ads. No trying to sell things. So that's a few shots fired, but it's true. Guys, it is what it is. You don't like You don't like skipping through ads. You like listening to Joby, and you like listening to Adam without having interruptions. Without every 2 minutes, I'll only speak to my members. No, guys, we'll speak to everyone. Trust me.
This is the place to be. The lads, I'm gonna have to shoot off. I've got work in the morning, but I'll be seeing you here tomorrow, and we'll be doing it all over again. Archer, big one.
But you know what it is, yeah.
It will be interesting. It will be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be very interesting. And what I'd like to say is, it's gonna get heated one or two ways. I'm either gonna be backing Archer massively, or I'm gonna lose it with Adam live. So guys, make sure you're there for that. Do smash the like button on the way out. And also, look, we're nearly at 4,000 subs. Thank you so much for coming. No ads again. See us tomorrow for. Do you know what? It will be our biggest stream ever. So thank you so much, guys.
Let's go. See you tomorrow.
Have a great night.